Last year, I did something really bad. I got onto the dark web with a few friends. And I'm telling you, it is real. There's a certain site, and I'm not giving you the full name. Let's just call it the Black Room. Me and my friends waited until their parents went to bed, and all three of us pulled up chairs to the computer. It was a live streaming site that read Live Preview in Serbian. There was a black screen and people were typing into the chat box in another language. We just watched and waited for something to happen. A topless woman with long dark brown hair appeared in a chair. She was wearing blue jeans. Her hands were tied with what looked like thin blue ropes and duct tape double wrapped. I guess it was to make sure she didn't get out. Her feet were cuffed together with what looked like metal leg cuffs. She had a blank look on her face. The camera flashed off to dark again. It looked like someone was covering the camera with a towel. Then I heard the sick sound of a drill being turned on. The towel was removed. I heard her shouting in another language, probably begging for her life, screaming and crying, but she couldn't move. There was a shirtless man in a BDSM mask. If you don't know what that is, I suggest you look it up. It was a black leather-looking mask with eye holes and a zipper where you could zip up the mouth. She began screaming and I wanted to turn away, but curiosity got the best of me. He put the fat metal tip of the drill straight into her damn eye. It made a sickening squishing sound and she was moaning and screaming as the drill went directly through her eyeball. Dark red blood began oozing out and it looked like the poor woman was going into shock. She was shaking so bad. The camera had zoomed in. Her eye was still attached and had major blunt force trauma. It looked like a big black bloody hole. Her eye was half there, somewhat. It was really hard to look at, and then the camera lens went black again. We heard two loud pops that sounded like a gun. After that, it went silent. No more sound, no more video. The viewing was obviously over. Oh my god, I told my friends. I just think we witnessed a murder. They shot her. They really fucking shot her. My friends and I agreed we would never watch anything like this again. I went home feeling disgusted with myself. I hoped and prayed it wasn't real. Sadly, it may have been. I promised myself no more. I would never watch anything like that again. That lasted until about next weekend. Next Saturday night, after playing the PS4 for a few hours, we began to get tired and smoked a few joints to wake us up. Then, my best friend, we will call him Rob, suggested we get on the dark web again. Rob is a computer genius and knows how to get into the deep web and dark web. He used a VPN. We decided to click on the Black Room again. Rob told me that only 4% of the internet is visible to the public, and 96% of the remaining is made up of the deep web. It made us feel a bit sick to my stomach. What a disturbing thought. It took us a few hours, and the site wanted us to pay with Bitcoin, and we did. I don't know how we easily got in there the first time without paying. I guess we just got lucky because they wanted us to pay next time. This time, the screen was not black, and there was a concrete-looking room in a bucket. A big heavy-set man with this white pillowcase around his head and eye holes cut out. You could not see his face. He picked up the bucket and began laughing, showing us the bucket and then showing us what was in the bucket. I almost threw up. It was a bucket full of body parts, human body parts, floating in this clotted red goop. I was assuming it was coagulated blood. I just remember seeing bloody teeth, a few fingers, and what looked like a couple of eyeballs or what was left of them. This couldn't be real, I thought. By the way, the man was laughing. It was no joke. It had to be animal parts, I thought. Please let it be animal parts. The camera zoomed in, and on the bucket was a white piece of paper that read, Victim number 12. It was written in permanent marker. Was this the remains of some poor unfortunate soul who got brutalized, like the first victim? Was this the remains of the poor lady we saw last week? Ugh, I really hope not. I wasn't prepared for what happened next. The screen went black again, and in a chair sat another woman. This time with blonde hair, and her eyes were covered with a black scarf. She was bound by her hands and feet with the same looking thin blue rope, and I felt very sorry for her. Her waist was strapped in with some sort of belt holding her down onto the chair. A white sheet was hung up behind her. I wanted to help her and felt like there was nothing I could do. The fat man began dipping his hands in the gooey mess and trying to shove it in the woman's mouth. She tried to hold her mouth shut, but the man got angrier and slapped her in the face. It sounded like he was telling her, "Eat it, eat it." She began to chew and cry, and then vomited the whole mess up on her pretty white silk blouse. The chat box was going wild. People were typing in different languages, and the chat box was going wild. Then, I heard it. The cranking of a chainsaw. There, standing beside the poor girl, appeared the same man from the first video. He was holding a chainsaw. Shirtless, black mask and all. I got a sickening feeling in my stomach. This is not gonna be good. I had seen what chainsaws do to people. Chainsaw accidents are horrible. I wanted to stop viewing right then and there, but my friends were eager to watch and I didn't want to seem like a wuss. She was screaming her guts out, flailing, trying to get out of the chair. Good thing we all had headphones on, because this was really loud. I watched in horror as he began to try and cut off her arms. The chainsaw went through a little and then kicked back in a jerky upward motion, coming close to knocking her attacker out. He must have hit her arm bone, I thought. I think this really angered him. I could hear him screaming in another language, so I assume he might have gotten nicked by the chainsaw. Suddenly, he shoved the blade directly into her stomach area. He pushed it in and began to cut vertically upwards, her faint screams muffled by the chainsaw. Droplets of blood began spraying into the air and onto the sheet. Little pieces of meat and tissue flew all over the room. She began convulsing. Her eyes rolled to the back of her head and she was gone, just like that. The man slowly pulled the chainsaw out, and as he did, I could see what looked like her intestines hanging out. The screen went black. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. I think I threw up for about 15 minutes. I almost passed out. My friends laughed at me, and I knew behind that laughter, it disturbed them too. All I know now is, there are some really sick people out in there in different parts of the world that will do anything on the web for money. These people have no heart or soul. They are inhuman and sick in the head, so stay off the dark web. There are just some things you can never forget that will disturb you and your mind forever. You will not be able to undo what you have seen. Remember that.